Greetings, YouTube. So last Friday, the voter suppression law in Pennsylvania was struck down by a Commonwealth judge. Here's some pertinent information. The law is invalid after Judge Bernard McKinney of Commonwealth Court found that it unreasonably burdened the right to vote and threatened a fundamental right of hundreds of thousands of qualified voters. Voting laws are designed to assure a free and fair election. The voter ID law does not further this goal, the decision states. The Republican-controlled legislature in March 2012 passed the law, one of the strictest in the nation, over objections from Democrats who, along with other critics, said the measure would suppress voting by poor people, minorities, and elderly residents. The law requires all Pennsylvania voters to show one of the certain forms of photo identification, a driver's license or passport, but not welfare cards or many college IDs that lack expiration dates. Now, hold on a second. Which groups possess welfare cards and college IDs? There's another poll quote in here I wanted to bring up. It said, certainly a vague concern about voter fraud does not rise to a level that justifies the burdens constructed here, is from also from the judge. And lastly, and this is quite famous, possibly my favorite quote from Judge McKinney, the voter ID law, as written, suggests a legislative disconnect from reality. Well, there you go, folks. A judge that actually knows what reality looks like. Now, remember, and I can hear the keyboards warming up as I speak, they've done studies that in America, over a 10-year time period, out of 600 million votes cast, 10 of those votes, one for each of my little digits here, were fraudulently cast by a person. A number so small that it did not sway anything, anywhere. Whereas, say, the voter suppression in Florida, that just says, anyone who's on this list over here is just not allowed to vote because you have a name vaguely like a felon. Yeah, we're going to count that out. You know, that might have had a decision when it came to electing Bush. Or the person we had in New Hampshire not that long ago who, working at the registration office, a Republican, just kind of lost a bunch of Democratic registrations. We don't need those Democratic registrations. We just need people who are Republicans to be voting. We don't need those Democrats to be voting. That kind of voter fraud does exist in America, but it's committed by the members of the GOP and their allies. It's not being done by individual Americans trying to undermine democracy. It just seems to be conservatives and progressives that are attempting to undermine democracy. Funny about that. Particularly when the regressive demographic is getting smaller and smaller and smaller as time progresses. The angry white Christian male vote is getting smaller. So they have to do everything in their power to make sure that they marginalize everyone that isn't a member of the angry white Christian male demographic. And so they come up with this wonderful idea of suppressing the votes of Americans, which is morally repugnant. But it shouldn't shock me. It shouldn't shock me that anything the GOP does after 40 years of propaganda teaching us that liberal is a dirty word and that everything that is right is wrong, up is down, black is white, and war is peace. They've been remarkably good at channeling Orwell and Kafka. So go take a look at the article. At least it put a smile on my face. And it's one more step towards actual democracy in America. And it's kind of sad that in the 21st century, we are having to make these fundamental battles towards the ballot box. Things that you thought would have been taken care of in the early part of the 20th century, if not even in the 19th century. But no, we're still fighting the tide of aggression and conservatism in America. It's distressing, but we're not going to stop. Not until every single person that attempts to prevent a vote, that suppress Americans' right to vote, has been drummed out of office.